Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday, and you guys know what that means. It is time for our Friday feature, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. USS Endeavor himself. And he's a special guest for a few reasons. I actually noticed his channel a while back. It kind of came up on my recommended, and I'll check it out. I try to do this for everyone. Number one, to find new channels, throw them a subscription. Number two, just to find videos exactly like this one that Mr. Endeavor sent me, just to help out the community. And his videos are very well put together, so I will leave a link to his channel. Make sure you guys check that out. On top of that, Endeavor and I became sort of Facebook friends, and I mentioned in my Congress video that I was traveling down to visit my parents and go to the beach there, and he's like, hey man, where are you at? And we figured out that we were pretty close, and we actually had a little bit of a CC meetup. I will throw in the picture there where I just kind of look like a goober with my hat flapped down. But he was a cool guy, man. That was a fun time. A former Navy veteran, I believe. Endeavor's going to correct me on that. But make sure you guys check out his channel. Throw him a subscription there. It just helps, the community. That was, like I've said in so many of these, I remember when I was a new content creator, and I got very lucky. But I remember when the Hive Hound shouted me out, and I just got a few shout outs from other people and how good that felt, and trying to just branch out there. But I wanted to choose this video, one, because it's an epic replay, two, because Endeavor's a good guy, and three, because I don't think I've ever had a game of the Maine on my channel. I think I have one game in the Maine, and I hated it, and I never played it again. But Endeavor is actually doing a series similar to Spartan and a few others of working his ships up the line. So he plays the Montana after this, but it's a good series. He's a good creator, so make sure you guys check him out. But anyway, to the game we go. Endeavor took a shot at the destroyer. I wonder who preaches those principles. It was actually really cool meeting up with him at the beach. Endeavor, you're a cool guy. Tell the kids I said hey. So that was a fun time. But yeah, he spawned in the center here on Atlantic. Now, you could make the argument that he could have stayed in the center, but Atlantic is one of those maps we know and hate, that sometimes when you're in a battleship and you get the middle spawn, there's not much for you to do. So he could have angled out in the center there waiting for some spots. He could have got some crossfires, but he went to support this side. So he knows that as soon as he supports and wins this side, he has to get back and help, secure the other flank and get that crossfire essentially. Here, though, Endeavor takes one of my favorite shots, not from the Maine, but from accurate American battleships. We have a broadside American heavy cruiser. And if we're being honest, that should have been a deletion, but he gets absolutely trolled by RNG. But alas, do not worry. He gets payback in many ways against multiple of the enemy teams here. Endeavor, though, is doing his job. He's fulfilling his role as an American sniping type battleship. That is what the Maine is. The Maine just never had that much interest to me, especially with the Montana being kind of mediocre at the time. Now the Montana has since grown on me, but the Maine is basically a Montana with one less gun on each of the front turrets there, so 10 total. But when you can get some broadsides like that, now this was a perfectly aimed, kind of not blind fire, but auto aim over the mountain there. Beautiful shot for the one Citadel, and we don't know where the shells landed, but I had a game in the Petro the other day, and I just caught a cruiser broadside, and I'm just like, can I make them pay once? Like, imagine being able to punish mistakes. Now we know that, sometimes you do blow up, and of course overpens, affect everyone. They're not exclusive to good players or bad players, but man, it is so frustrating when you catch somebody broadside. Like, I think it was last night I had a Napoli broadside, and we shot him 4 times, and I'm just like, man, imagine if broadside players paid for their mistakes. But here Endeavor is actually kind of smartly waiting for this Tulsa to make his move, because if he sends a full salvo and the Tulsa adjusts his course, well, and of course those shots are going to miss. But he takes the shots, a little bit, touch on the lead there, but he gets the kill and pops his first legendary module. So now he has an extra, 5% damage. Oh yeah. Sorry for the recording. Endeavor actually records a lot on his phone. We were talking in person there, and for what he does, he is very talented for what he does. But there is a little bit of I guess graininess or recording issues coming from that. And there's also a little bar on the bottom of the screen. But he takes another shot at that hipper there, and that is when he says this in his video, that he's realizing that he needs to go to the other flank. One of those battleships or cruisers has kind of pushed their way into the Charlie Cap there, but that is where a majority of the enemy team is, and Endeavor, being the smart player that he is, realizes that he needs to complete that crossfire. So that Wichita goes down, and now it is basically just 2 battleships on the right there. And now there is that Ostergotland in the middle kind of running screen. But you can see that Alabama was broadside for some reason and did eventually go down. So he is going, being the team player that you should be in Legends and picking up the slack. It is so nice to see when someone just kind of understands the game, right? We have so many games where your team is just, eyes down the binoculars on that one hipper, right? There's 4 ships over there. They should be able to take care of that guy in a relatively quick amount of time. But you'll notice that Endeavor got spotted and he let his team know. And what that tells you as a player is that there is a destroyer, right? His detection ring was still concealed, and we can obviously see that this destroyer has worked his way into B cap. But since the other destroyers are kind of moving the other way, Endeavor takes a beautiful shot on the Maine and actually chunks him for nearly half of his health. That was one of the best shots that I've ever seen. Now, I also think that he was running, he hadn't quite switched to the spotter planes yet, so he hit the plane just in case. But what that plane will do actually is it will detect torpedoes a touch early. So something to keep in mind if you choose to run the fighter planes instead of the spotter planes. But yeah, that is I think what he was doing there. I believe he said that in the video as well. But that Maine is not yet realized that there is another Maine on his broadside. So Endeavor chunks him for another massive 30k there, 4 penetrations and 3 overpens on top of the added damage bonus that he has from the legendary module. As we mentioned though, that destroyer was in B and actually did cap it, and there are the torpedoes from that destroyer, so a smart decision to turn out. Also, that battleship on his stern did turn in, but rushing into that situation is probably not the best play. Why? Because you can see there's 4 battleships, a few of them being secondary battleships. So, reading the situation is always a smart play, and that is what Endeavor did here. Also, you will notice he is not detected, kind of given away by the icon, or the lack of icon, rather, on his screen. Now, I probably would have taken that shot on that Maine. We know that American and German battleships have a large amount of superstructure health, but what Endeavor is doing here is gaining position. And again, he talks a lot about this in his video. He's got a good grasp of the game, so again, make sure you check out his channel, throw him a like, throw him a subscription. He's a cool dude, and like I said, I like doing these videos because it helps spread people throughout the community. It's very boring watching the same person over and over again. Now, of course, you guys have to come back and watch my videos, even though they're essentially all the same. But some people learn differently and in different ways, and that's my goal for the community, and Endeavor is very good at that. But here, again, he's repositioning to try and get those broadsides. Yes, he can throw the AP into the superstructure, but after 1 or 2 salvos, you will easily saturate that superstructure, especially from an American battleship. Now, the German battleships, I feel like, hold about 80k in their superstructure, which is why watching Chile try to play the GK is just funny because it gets chunked so easily. But here, Endeavor takes a pretty good angled shot on the Bismarck, and you can see 5 pens, only about 10k, but just a huge chunk of health, and even one of those, penetrations was into the gun. So just a nicely aimed shot there. Taking those kind of slightly angled shots is pretty difficult because sometimes the dispersion ellipse, it feels like, RNG is against you for those. But here, this Maine is making a quite the turn, as Endeavor only takes a minimal amount of damage there, you can see, because he was angled. And that is when we say goodnight, thanks for playing to that Maine, and as Endeavor ticks a nice 95,000 and 2 kills. But this game is, it is far from being over. Now, we are at the 6.5 minute mark, so he is going to have to make some moves here, but you will notice there is a lot of enemy this is where he lost connection. He sent me the replay, and I think his alarm went off. But at this point in the game, right, you have to this is where a lot of people lose games, right? They do well in the opening minutes, they do well, and their team obviously collapses, but Endeavor gets a beautiful shot on that, I think it was an Atlantico or whatever battleship it was, gets the Citadel, gets the high caliber, and gets the kill for his 3rd damage bonus. But it's this point in the game where you need to really read the minimap and see what your team needs, and Endeavor does that pretty well here. A lot of this team, now he's pretty far not out of position, but he's pretty far towards the back of the map here, but you can see a majority of his team is focused at Bravo, so they either have to angle to him or they have to angle to his teammates, and because they angle to his teammates, Endeavor is able to get a beautiful mess of broadsides here for just he's basically in a shooting gallery, right? That Bismarck has no chance. 3 more penetrations, a few shatters there for his 4th kill. But this game is still pretty close, and as you can see, his teammates, their health is moderate. But he's also kind of alone against 2 destroyers out here. So he's going to be doing, some evasive maneuvers like we've talked about. If you're a battleship main, you have to. This is why it is very important to play other classes, right? So if I was a destroyer, and we can see the last known position, the last spotted position for those destroyers, and obviously one of them is in Bravo as it is being capped. So those destroyers are on his left. So he needs to think about turning left. He also has an Atlantico in front of him, and so he's kind of trapped. But if he were just to sail in a straight line, and again, bringing this point around, if you play destroyers, when you see people sailing in straight lines, you just kind of laugh because you send the torpedoes on the white line and they run right into them. Now, a lot of players, sometimes they make maneuvers. It's funny because I tend to guess what players are going to do, and they will end up sailing in a straight line. But besides that, Endeavor has put his ship in probably the best position he could put it in, given that there's a destroyer to his left. There's also a secondary battleship kind of to his right, and that is when the other destroyer pops up. You can see it on the mini-map there. So pointing your ship towards the destroyer is what you want to do. So if you play destroyers, you will know this, which is my point in previous videos. You want to play multiple classes so you can understand multiple classes. Endeavor takes a shot here, but unfortunately the Atlantico is pretty strong. The Atlantico actually has an underwater citadel, so brawling in Atlantico is not necessarily what you want to do. But there, the other destroyer pops up, and that is when Endeavor notices both of them. And if you will notice, the other ship on his team just went down. So there's only 2 battleships to the enemy's, 2 battleships and 1 cruiser to the enemy's 2 destroyers and 1 battleship. And that is actually not a position you want to be in if you're on the blue team. But here Endeavor is lining up the drive-by beautifully. Now, the Atlantico is chunking him pretty bad. He was pretty healthy, but he takes the beautiful drive-by, and good night. Thanks for playing. That is the Kraken. Get off the screen. That was beautiful, man. I need to sometimes zoom out for my drive-bys. I tend to just keep the guns zoomed in, but a beautiful, 8 or 9 penetrations there right into the chunky armor of that Atlantico. But Endeavor, is he going to go down? He gets the heal back. He has a double fire ticking, so he's going to be going down pretty quickly. But that heal may have saved him. And that is when the Smallin pops up. The Smallin recognizes that Endeavor is low. He takes a shot here, and I'm going to be honest, the lead was just probably not enough, but he still gets a few decent penetrations to tick the Confederate there. Also, RNG splashed those shells left and right, but remembering that the Smallin has that engine boost, which can get him up to 45. I don't know, the Smallin engine boost is pretty nutty there. So if you're noticing your shells missing, just remember that Smallin can have the engine boost. But here Endeavor puts out that fire with just enough time left. He wants to get the kill on this Smallin before popping that damage con, which was a smart play, and he gets trolled by RNG once again. Man, RNG is funny sometimes. Destroyers surviving multiple salvos, but that is why, as we mentioned, it is very important to shoot them. Why? Because if you take that 2,000 or 3,000 health off of him, that Smallin would be dead right now. But all of these things are things that Endeavor has said at one point or another, taken from the best, of course, right? No, we're just kind of kidding there, but by playing the game and kind of understanding the principles, you can be a top player and achieve a beautiful game like this. He gets the 1 shell to hit for the 6th kill. He leads the Sumner as he goes down to that fire, which he would not have been placed, but unfortunately, the Smallin was not killed on that first salvo. And also, unfortunately, RNG trolled him once again to not get the double strike for the 7th kill on the Sumner. As you can see, he actually hit the target and got an incapacitation ribbon. If you guys did not know this, HE has a splash radius, and you can get incapacitation ribbons by shooting near a ship. So sometimes you will actually not hit the target, which is what happened in this case, but you can still damage the modules. I guess, I don't know, they're thinking that the shell impact causes damage to the harmonics of the engine. I don't know. That is just one of the features in the game. So you can actually get a reset ribbon in a similar fashion by just doing what they call splash damage. But there is a beautiful game in the USS Maine from Mr. USS Endeavor. 183K, 6 kills, Confederate high caliber, and of course the Kraken with a nice XP total. If I'm being honest, I feel like the XP should have been a little bit more, but Endeavor let the game come to him. He did not put his ship in a bad position, and that is a great game. So there is his little outro. I left it in for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We will be doing an awesome video, a few awesome videos this weekend if I have time. I'm really starting to work on my other channel. So I appreciate the viewership. Let me know what you guys think. Love you guys. Aaron out. Peace.